Hey guys, it's Shama Maher here, CEO of Scaling Retail, and I'm super excited to be doing another one of our live one-on-one consultations. Today I will be looping in Little Sunbeam Official, and we're going to go ahead and have an opportunity to talk a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes in the business. Now, just to refresh your guys' memory, these live one-on-ones are really designed to give you guys a chance to learn from each other. It's a wonderful, amazing opportunity to get questions answered, but also to talk and really get a nice one-to-one experience. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to loop it in and cross our fingers that we don't have any technical difficulties. Right. All right, Sierra, let's see if I got you here. I hope I didn't make any mistakes. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Good. Sorry, my dog's probably barking in the background.
Oh my God, how cute. Can I see what kind of puppy, what kind of
I
dog you?
put her in the room. She's a Chihuahua.
My God, how cute. Nothing
Yeah.
quite working and quarantining with your furry loved ones.
Oh, yes, it's great.
That's amazing. So Sierra, where are you quarantining right now? Where are you based?
Yeah, so I'm in Orange County, New York.
Okay.
So it's kind of crazy
Where is
here. Yes, it's about an hour and a half upstate from the city.
Okay. Got it. I love that. I'm in New York as well. I found myself quarantining out in Long Island,
Oh,
which is pretty crazy, because I live in LA. So I've
oh,
been
okay. Well, that's fun. Interesting.
here for 2 months now. I know it's
Oh,
pretty
wow.
amazing. How have things been going like professionally, personally these last couple months?
Yeah, crazy. I was actually planning to launch this summer. So when Corona started, I realized I can't do that. So I kind of have to push back my launch till next year. So I've been kind of just trying to learn everything I can to get where I need to be so it's successful rather than a mess.
Got it. Okay. So let's kind of peel back the layers,
Okay.
in our conversation today. We've got 30 minutes to like powerhouse this. So I want to
Okay.
make sure that we're getting the most out of this, and making sure we have some kind of actionable strategies here. So give us a quick lowdown on thought process and kind of what brought you to the launch, what you've been thinking about, what are some of the stress points, and let's just start firing away and make sure you have a game plan.
Yeah, so I have a toddler line. It's gender neutral. So I'm just right now the stage I'm in is trying to find manufacturers, the fabric sourcing. I have my patterns made, but I don't know if I like them because I haven't had the samples made yet. So I'm trying to talk to all these people, figure it out, but then they're asking me questions that I'm not too sure of yet since I haven't got the fabric figured out. So I'm like, I don't know, like if I'm doing knit or woven or kind of what's going on.
Got it. Okay, so let's be clear here. So
Yeah,
you have your patterns, you don't have any samples.
no samples.
Okay. Holy bananas. Okay, so
Yeah.
you have no idea what costing is going to look like. You have no idea what kind of fabrics you're using.
No, I do know that I do want organic cotton and linen, but then they're asking me, well, do you want organic cotton knits or organic cotton wovens? And I'm like, I'm not sure. So,
Got it. Do you have an idea of the price point you want to sell these products at?
yeah, I was thinking more of tops around 30, 35 and bottoms 40, 45 if I can.
Got it. And where were you hoping to manufacture?
New York City.
Okay. Woo! Expensive. All right.
I live in New York, so I figured I could go to the factory. I don't want to go overseas, so I want to do domestic, but I am open, whatever's the best pricing, really.
Hmm. Okay. So let's kind of unpack this. I know that originally when we were kind of communicating with our teams and we were figuring out kind of what this was about, you were like, hey, I want a fresh set of eyes. I want to kind of know where things are heading. I'm really interested to find out and kind of start to pull the thread here on the economics of how you're setting up this business and a little bit of like how to be not just looking at your supply chain and economics, but looking at it through the lens of the customer. Because ultimately, your website, your social, like everything that you do is going to be for the lens of the customer. And
Mm-hmm.
I think can be kind of challenging for a lot of people sometimes is to think about how am I setting up my operations and my supply chain and my cost of goods in the eyes of what my customer needs and wants. And
Right.
that is like a really interesting dynamic. And what I mean by that is if you want to sell a garment at $35, right? Then that means in my mind, I'm thinking, holy bananas, you've got to be able to get your cost of goods down to produce this product for no more than $7.
That's the goal.
So if it's going to be to produce it at $7, I'm wondering, right, based on your customer and your target market, like, will it make sense to do production in New York for that garment, right? Will it make sense to, what kinds of fabrications and materials will make sense in terms of getting you down to that price point? So the very first step in this, I would say, would be to establish what are what is the customer that you're going after, and who are your competitors, and what kinds of prices do we want to be competing at? So talk to me a little bit about your customer. Who is that customer that you're going to be targeting?
Yeah, so I kind of see my customer as this mom that's in her late 20s, early 30s. She's all about finding the sustainable fabrics for her kids. She's more cautious about that. And my whole line is really into gender neutral. So hopefully she's into that as well, gender neutral clothing. But she's like that Instagram mom that's always on Instagram, influencer, and she has like her business. So that's kind of like my goal customer right
Mhm.
now, if I'm explaining that correctly.
Sounds good to me so far. So we're thinking about what other brands this customer buys or who your competitors might be. What comes to mind?
Well, I've been trying to search for gender neutral toddler lines or just toddler lines that are kind of similar to what I'm doing, and I'm not really finding anything. So I'm kind of having an issue finding my competitor.
I see. So one way to think about this, and obviously right now we're in quarantine, so you can't like go into a store, right, and do
Mhm.
some comp shopping. Um, One of the first things I would have you do though is once the stores open back up, would be to head into the city and start to do some comp shopping so you get a better idea of the other brands out there. You almost need to become an expert in other people in
Okay.
understand where you fit. So one of the things that we sometimes forget is, at the end of the day, your customer is going to choose to buy from you or someone else.
Hmm.
And whether or not there's a direct one-to-one competitor to you kind of doesn't even matter because they're either going to spend their money with you or someone else. You need to figure out who is the someone else that they might be spending their money on.
Okay.
The easiest way to figure that out is to actually go into some stores and actually start to become a sleuth in your competitors and understanding the kinds of customers that are shopping those products. Now, here's something else that could be interesting for you. At this moment, there are so many unemployed retail people that what else you could do is you could hop on LinkedIn,
Hmm.
find some employees at some retail clothing stores that are obviously not opened, right? So what are they doing? They're probably furloughed, waiting for the store to open, and start to reach out on LinkedIn and ask them if they wouldn't mind spending 5 to 10 minutes on a phone call with you because you're doing some research for a brand. And
Okay.
a brand. And if they, and usually at this point in time, I imagine that these people would be really excited and probably not expect for you to pay them because they have maybe not much else to do.
Mhm.
But I would actually get on the phone. And the reason why I would do that is you would be surprised in this very like nascent beginning stage of your business, just how valuable customer service people can be to giving you a lot of insight. They'll tell you, oh, when people come into the store, these are the things that they're looking for, right? Or this is why they're choosing this brand over this other brand. Or here are some holes in the market that I've identified just from being on the retail selling floor. So your key eyes and ears are going to be the salespeople at these stores.
Okay. I
Now,
never thought of that. That's great.
isn't that a cool idea? It's
Yeah.
also because they've done all the heavy work for you. So while you're sitting there going like, holy shit, like, who am I? Like, who else am I? Who is shopping? You know,
Yeah. Like, what's happening?
you can figure out like your competitors in a really easy way. But if what you're saying, you can't find it, number one, I'd say you might need to look a little bit harder, right? At
Yeah.
those, because I bet there are some. But the second point is, you know, store owners and also people who are on the you know, retail selling floor side of things, I think will also be just a tremendous amount of value for you.
Okay. Awesome.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that is that I think is going to be the first, like, most important thing. Now, when it comes to the other components of this, I think the other thing that I think would be really important is to really think about, once you align the distribution, like who your competitors are, the next point of view is what really differentiates me from these other brands, what really differentiates me and my point of view. And that's where branding becomes very important, right? So now you kind of like lay the field, right? You understand what's happening in the space, you know, who the key competitors are. Now you might be able to say to yourself, based on these competitors, I want to produce my product at X. So the fact that you kind of already have an idea of where you want to produce your product isn't sufficient for me, because I don't know where that's been substantiated from.
Yeah.
Right? I actually need to know how you came up with this number and what in the market actually told you this was a good number. Then once you figure out kind of what the you know, what that landscape looks like, then you say, well, how am I going to differentiate myself, and what is my brand identity, what makes us special from everyone else? It might turn out that your core brand DNA is like, it doesn't matter if it's made in New York. It may turn out that it does matter that it's made in New York, but you need to figure out what are the key differentiating points of your brand that you're going to be able to execute on, right? That are actually going to make a difference.
Okay. So are you suggesting to go probably international rather than domestic, or could I find maybe one?
So I don't know, right? So
Yeah.
the reason why I'm posing the question is because we don't actually know yet, right, what's important to your customer. We don't actually know yet how you're going to differentiate yourself. It may turn out that for your brand, what makes you special actually has nothing to do with where it's made. It might turn out that it has to do with the fabric. That might be something that you want to double down on. Or it might turn out that it has nothing to do with the fabric, nothing to do with where it's made, but maybe it has to do with some sort of give back component, right? Or maybe it has to do with some sort of fair labor, or maybe it has to do with something else, you know? So I really want to encourage you to think about your brand building, not just from the perspective of what are the things that you just want to do, but more importantly, what are the things that you're going to do that's actually going to make a difference in your product, in your brand, and in the lives of your customer. And the reason why I want to stress that is, you know, it's one thing to say, I want my product to be made in the USA, be all organic, be, you know, fair labor. I want to only employ, you know, let's say minorities. You can have a whole list of things that you want to do for your brand. But you have to ask yourself, like, does my customer give a shit?
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And it's not as if you don't want to do the right thing, but you want to do the right thing in the context of creating a profitable and sustainable business, which means instead of doing all the 10 things, you might pick 3. And then you might choose through your communication and marketing to really hone in on those 3 things. So my point being, don't be everything to everybody. Be some very specific things to some very specific people.
Okay, that's very helpful. Now, in regards to fabric, so I'm getting samples right now. So when I pick just a sample that I want to just test out to make my samples, are they going to assume that I'm purchasing a bunch of fabric from them right away? Because I can't start production obviously right now. So
you need to go through you need to see fabric swatches. So you're not working with a development company, right? Or a design development agency. Okay. So, and do you have anyone who's maybe on freelance who can help you with development or design?
Not currently.
Okay. You may want to find someone. This could be a very interesting, you know, moment for you as you're thinking about what these kinds of design development um, companies or people can do for you in terms of how you're going to be looking at what fabric might actually be, right? Like on your garment. I'll
Yeah.
give you so I'm really shitty at product development. So like I can't tell you like, oh yeah, use that fabric. What I can tell you is that if you don't have someone who's going to tell you that this particular kind of stretch is going to fit like this, and then when you
Yeah.
this way based on the weave it's going to do this other thing, or you can't add that trim or that button onto that thing because it's going to weigh the fabric down. Those are components and things that are going to become very important, and the moment you start to buy yardage or invest in fabric, if your fabric is not right for that product, guess what, like
Yeah.
you are screwed. So your fabric selections are super important to you and getting the right kinds of guidance on that. So what I would consider doing is even if you have products from other brands where you're like, oh, I like, products from other brands and you're like, oh yeah, I like, I don't know, this sweater and I like this material, right? I want to make it out of this material. Or
Mhm.
want to create it, I want to make a sweater out of this other thing. Come with other brands' products where you like those fabrics and materials if you're not going to hire someone to help you figure this out. And the reason why that's important is because at least you know in a very like back of napkin way that that material works for that kind of garment,
Right.
right?
Okay. Good.
So like the fabric sourcing place, you could say, hey, I'm trying to make this kind of product in this garment. Can you help me price match or find something that's going to be similar? And then at least you can go forward and make your sample in that.
Okay. Okay. I do have a question that's kind of off topic from fabrics.
Yeah,
um,
good. I don't know anything about fabric. So,
okay. So, so I was told the other day, well, since I started this a year ago, everyone told me do not trademark yet. But then I was told yesterday that I should do that right away. So what's your opinion on trademarking my name,
okay.
my company name?
So trademarks are important when you have a business that is going somewhere and that could be at potential risk of being copied. So right now, you don't have anything.
Right. Okay.
No one's going to copy you because there's nothing to copy. I mean, that's just
That
really
is true.
oftentimes people will do trademarks really just to like protect their brand when they have like a strong launch plan. So if you were to tell me, Shama, I got $500,000 in the bank or $250,000 in the bank, and I want to make this a big launch, I'm going to go after these markets and I want to get visibility and I want to be seen, I'd say, okay, we need to trademark you because your strategy, your launch strategy would have it such that, you're going to get a lot of eyeballs. Someone might look at your stuff and say, oh my God, I want to copy that. Zara might look at it and say, I want to do that. And then in that case, having a trademark or being able to protect yourself becomes really important. Now, in the beginning stages, or if you're a small brand and you're trying to grow is that a glass of wine?
No, it's iced tea.
I'm really jealous. I'm like over here.
It's sweet tea.
Maybe these consulting sessions should be like wine time. Wine.
Yeah, I don't have any alcohol in the house, or else that would be a good idea.
So what was I saying? Okay, so when you think about the trademarking, I would wait till you have something, like wait till you are maybe selling, I don't know, $10,000 a month online. Wait until maybe you've done $100,000 in business, but I would say wait, it's not worth the money to do it right now. To be honest, I'll tell you something
Mhm.
like most of the time when I take on clients and work with people, it's like sometimes the brand name actually needs to change.
Mhm.
And it's hard to know. So the process that like we'll do at Scaling Retail is like we'll take a client, we'll do a what we call a brand DNA, where we'll basically perform like a market analysis on where we think this brand will be most optimally positioned in front of the market. And out of that analysis usually comes like a recommendation on products, price points, and brand positioning. Also out of that comes branding ideas. So we'll say for this customer, for this kind of product, you may want to consider branding yourself in these ways and using these colors and this kind of aesthetic in order to kind of capture that customer. What happens in 99% of businesses is they go, I have an idea. I'm going to create a logo. I'm going to have a brand name, and I'm going to design a product. Okay. But what people forget to do, what they don't do is go, oh, I have an idea. Who might that customer be? What might that price point look like? Okay, now what kind of brand name and brand positioning goes with that customer and that product? So most people flip it, right? So I would even say in this beginning stage, if you're not married to the name, and look, I don't know if the name is good or bad, you know, like I decided on scaling retail over a bottle of wine. I was like, well, what do I do? How do I make this so easy that people know what I do? But even still, someone asked me the other day if I did rock climbing because of the word scaling. So I don't know, you can't, but I would say, you know, if you're open, you know, to a different kind of brand name, I would say start with the customer. You still have a chance to do this the right way. Start with the customer, then move on to the product, right? Move on. Then once you get to the product and you have the customer nailed down, take a look and say, does my brand name now fit this customer demographic and this product that I'm selling?
Okay.
If it does, great. Go.
Great. Yeah.
If it doesn't, that's okay too, right? Because remember, like you didn't start a company, you're not starting a company because you love the name Little Sunbeam Official, right? It's like you're starting this company because you have a passion for a product or for the customer.
Right, right. Okay. I'm just checking out my questions I have here.
All right.
Okay, so I'm not sure if you had a chance to look at my website, but I was gonna see if you could to tell me if it's like awful or if I should fix it or if it's good for my audience or something.
Okay, so let's start. So the thing about your website is that there's not much to go off of, right? And for those of you guys who are watching, you know, the website is littlesunbeam.com. There's not much to critique on, right? It's not bad, but it doesn't say anything. It doesn't do anything for me. Okay. You know, it's not, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. But it's not necessarily, it doesn't communicate brand, right? Like I want to know when you talk about, you know, what your reason of having a brand is, or you think about, you know, this idea of gender fluidity or being able to be self-expression or not being, you know, I love this idea of the art of being a child. Like that is important, right? Okay. Like being a child is like, it reminds me of the emotional context of like, how do you express yourself as a child, right? Like what does that feel like? What would that look like? You know, what does play look like through the eyes of a child who wants that freedom of expression? That to me is rich in color, it's rich in movement, it's joyful, and those things I do not get from your website.
Okay.
Right?
That's good to know.
Those things I do not get. What I am getting is you have a really clean, simple website, and there's not much to react against. You know, like I like the idea that you have, you know, some posts and for people to, you know, kind of engage and kind of get to know your brand. And I think that that's fine. But to be honest, like blogging on a website is only as good as you are able to be consistent about it and as you're able to create meaning. And so if you plan on a blog being a big part of your brand strategy, then the biggest questions you should be asking yourself are, how am I creating a communication or editorial calendar that's actually interesting? Like why on earth would I want to read about the safest fabrics for my family from you?
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, why would I want to know about gendered or non-gendered or the art of, like, why would I want to know this from you? What makes you and your brand uniquely positioned to talk about certain things?
Is there a way to kind of like make people want to learn from me, or
So that comes in your branding, right? So that
okay.
becomes a question of, if you want to be known as the woman who's pioneering the art of being a child, right? Then I would say you've got a hefty exercise in front of you, to distill and figure out, well, what does that really mean? And how, and what are the ways in which we can communicate that through society, through communication of our school systems, through how we look at play, through how we look at family dynamics. You know, I imagine though, if you start getting into heavy psychology stuff, you may need to have a degree in something psychoanalytical. You know, otherwise you can kind of do it through the lens of interviews, and you can do it through the lens of, you know, talking to people in the fields who can kind of share a perspective on that. I mean, my gosh, it would be so cool if you were able to, like, so cool if you could, like, partner up with like a childhood, like an early child psychologist on like the benefits of like creating and wearing clothes that are more gender neutral, and like, you know, add some science into your brand. Like, that would be amazing, right? Like a science backed brand where it's like, actually, you know, creating a platform like this and using products in this way can benefit how your child experiences the world, they experience themselves. I mean, I don't know if that's the case. I'm no,
Yeah, maybe, hopefully.
but it's certainly worth looking into, because that would be a differentiating point, right? It's like using these things to help substantiate what you're doing, so that what you're communicating to your customer is something beyond like, hey, I have this product, buy it.
Okay. I'm gonna do that. That's a great idea. I'm gonna write everyone and be like, can you please? That's a great idea. I love that. And yeah, I didn't even think of it. I'm just like, great, I have all of these amazing ideas for where I see my company going and being an advocate for gender equality, but I don't feel like I'm like showing that enough. I'm just like, it's in my head, but I'm not like really
Totally.
expressing it.
Of
Which
course.
is
All right, Dar- one more question, and then we're going to wrap it up.
yeah, yeah. So what's the next step you think I should do right now?
Okay. I think number one, you need to do some shopping. Who doesn't want that as a, all right, Syama said it's time to go shopping. The only perk of being in our industry, actually, because everything else is crazy. So when it comes to going shopping, I need you to do some comp shopping. I want you to get some sourcing. I want you to see what brands are out there. I want you to buy clothes so you can get an understanding of the fabric stuff. It concerns me that you don't have the background in development.
Yeah.
I don't have that background, and you would have to hire that out. So given that you don't have that, we need to hack it. So I need to go shopping and start to figure out the fabrics and the things like that that you want to go forward with. I would also have you get on LinkedIn and start doing some phone calls with some sales associates. I think you might find that your business idea ends up pivoting one or two or three more times after you have those conversations. So I would love for you to have those conversations.
Okay.
And the third thing I would do is start to think about what your content strategy is and what is it that you actually want to be known for. Be specific. Don't, you know, be too broad. What you have right now, it's a bit broad. Be specific.
Okay.
Those are 3 action points on the product, on your positioning, and on your content.
Okay. Oh, so helpful. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. All right, guys, for those of you guys who are watching, we'll try to do this a replay as well. So try to put this on YouTube if we can. But I am so excited to spend these few moments with you. Thank you for your time and energy and opening up your ideas and your questions. I think it's such an amazing place when you get to learn from each other, and hearing you be vulnerable about your business and talk about that stuff, I think is really special. So thanks for doing that.
Yes, thank you so much.
Amazing. Everyone else, please send us an email at hello@scalingretail.com if you want to hop on these one-on-ones. I'm really liking them, so I imagine we're going to keep doing them. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Bye.